Good evening, Wilco here. Apologies. Dave will be with you in a second. Seems he's a bit nervous and anxious about talking to his next guest.
I am not. I'm stretching.
What, what is this, a Pilates video?
No.
It would seem I'm here because his next guest took Dave to school once upon a time.
That's true.
So, Zach Fifth.
It's Zef Smith.
Anyways, Dave will be with you shortly.
On you. Folks, we're going to go back all the way to 1988. Ronald Reagan's last year, the year before the Berlin Wall came down. And overseas, we had some Tops and Blue folks going out there for the Magic of Imagination tour, the overseas tour, doing their thing. Back in those days, there was 2 tours. And we have a very special guest. Folks, I'm telling you, he's one of the cats. I've said it 1,000 times. We have a very parallel history. We have with us from the rhythm section from the 1988 tour, the bass player, Zef Smith, retired Chief Master Sergeant Zef Smith. How are you doing,
What's up,
Zef?
brother? Man, I am great, bro. It's so good to see you, man. It's been,
Uh,
I guess, eons would be the word.
it's been eons. It has been
Yeah,
eons,
for
far too
sure.
long, and I
Yeah.
apologize for that. Far too long.
Well, ditto, bro. Ditto, man.
So
Ditto.
before we get everything blue and blue adjacent, I got a
Sure.
quick question. What is a typical day of a command chief master sergeant like?
Well, I can tell you, as I go back and think about it, for me, it started about 4 a.m. in the morning, because as I learned quickly, um, when you're striving and you're trying to, continue to keep that momentum, that forward momentum, the workday starts at 4 in the gymnasium.
Ah,
Yeah, so getting in the gym, getting a good workout in, because I know at least 5 out of 7 days, because it really was 24 hours, 7 days a week sometimes, I was in blues.
yeah.
And if you know, like I know, all through growing up in the military, most of us dreaded wearing our blues.
Yeah, because they might
They
not
had,
fit. Because they might
yeah,
not fit.
exactly.
That's what.
Blues Friday. I mean, it was like you dreaded it. Even when you were going up for awards, below the zone, promotion board, whatever, quarterly awards, you hated putting on those blues, man. And so,
Yep.
as much as having the knowledge and the skill set, to be a command chief, you got to have the look if you're aspiring to continue to, the upward
Hmm.
momentum. And so normally my days would start at 4, get in the gym, try to get a good hour and a half, 2 hour workout in, with
Wow.
including sauna time. I try to get in the sauna and sweat those toxins out or whatever, and then
Yep.
get to the house, get a quick meal, and usually in the office about 6:37. And then it's just, you have an executive assistants. They put out your schedule for the day, and you try to follow it as much as you can. Sometimes, I worked for a colonel when I was in Mississippi. I worked for a 1 star when I was in Germany. And
Hmm.
oftentimes they may want to, hey, tell chief, we need to go here, we need to go there. Sometimes your schedule's littered with meetings. Then you come back and you got a stack of EPRs and decorations and you name it. All kinds of stuff. A lot of the stuff that on the enlisted side of the house before it goes to the commander, it comes to the command chief. So you got that administrative part that you're dealing with. You got meetings that you're going through to, your NCOs meetings, junior NCO meetings, airmen's meetings. So it was busy days every day. Not to mention any incidentals that came up.
Right.
I was at I was in when I was in Columbus one time. We had an aircraft mishap, so we had to get on the road and head about an hour south down to that. And so it's just, you're always on the ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Wow.
always on the ready. Not to mention TDYs and all that.
Yeah. A lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling, but I mean that's nothing new for us. You know,
That's true.
traveling part was
That's
easy.
that's the easiest part, probably.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
When you got to
Yeah,
Dover in
yeah,
1988,
yes,
did you get to
sir.
Dover in 88 or 87?
87. I got there in 87.
So when did you first, because we have parallels here. When you got to Dover, did you immediately start heading, did you see blue before that? When you got to Dover, how did you get into blue from that point?
So I got to Dover in 87 and direct duty assignment.
Mhm.
I started off in actually I started off in logistics. You know, I didn't
Oh,
add that
okay.
to the my bio, but I actually started in logistics and then I went into air traffic. So I got to Dover in 87 and brand new and didn't really know anything, just trying to get settled into the base. Didn't have a tech school. So I went
Mhm.
straight to my direct duty station, my assignment. And so just trying to find out what to do. And I stumbled up on the rec center. So Miss Claudia was there.
Claudia
Yeah,
Limerichter.
Claudia then rector. So
Yep.
I stumbled up on the rec center, went in, saw, all the things they had, and then I saw they had a little music room.
Yep.
And so I went in the music room. You know what I'm talking about. They had the
Yep.
little raggedy drum set. They had a couple guitars and that type of thing. And so I kind of took a liking to going over and doing that. So that was kind of like my pastime. Either that or I'd go to gym and play basketball. Wasn't good at all, but I went just for the fellowship. you know.
Right. Right.
And so I took a liking to going over there and started. That was kind of my escape to get away. And so then start jamming with some guys. There was one guy there by the name of Salvador Bucherri. Never forget. He was a drummer.
What a great
And
name.
yeah, Salvador Bucherri, man. He lives in New Jersey. We still keep in touch. And so we used to get in there and jam all the time. So they had a talent show. They have the talent show. So we got together and we did this. It was a Rush song. I can't remember
No,
the name.
shut up. Really?
I kid you not. It was a Rush song. The bass line was phenomenal. I cannot remember the name of it,
Was it
but
instrumental? Was it
no,
one of
no,
Rush's instrumentals?
it was a vocal song, but because we had a guy that sung,
Okay.
but I can't remember the name of the song. I'll have to go back and track
Oh,
them up. But
I would be dying to know that.
I'll have to let you
Yeah.
know. But it was cool, man. So I shaded the bass line, and
Hmm.
it was pretty cool. So we did that little local talent show, and so from that, Claudia started building a team for Mac. And so I was like, I'm down with that. She really took a liking to me. She saw I was talented. And so we started working that. And we didn't take the band forward, but she took me forward on a bass solo. I was doing a bass solo. And that I had kind of just crafted up. It was called Maria Smile. And so we went to Fort Dix, I think it was. No, no, what was it? McGuire. McGuire
Okay.
was our Mac. We went to McGuire, and so I went there and competed, and I actually won. I won an instrumental solo category there, and so it was off to Worldwide '88, which was the 35th year reunion of Thompson Blue. It
Hmm.
was the 35th year reunion, and so went to Worldwide, and was going to compete in the instrumental solo category. And I want to say that year, I think Cedric Tyus won first place. He was a sax player,
Okay.
good friend of mine. He's a prior. Cedric
Hmm.
Tyus,
I
incredible
remember the
player.
name. Yep.
Um, and I want to say he won that year. I can tell you this: I didn't win. I didn't win. And so, had a good performance. It was cool, but I didn't win. And so my thing was, okay, this is cool. I'm enjoying it. I didn't really know a lot about Tops and Blue. I'd never seen Tops and Blue before, ever.
Oh, you never saw a
So
show up to that point. You never saw a
I
show.
had never saw a show. Even in basic training, I don't recall seeing, like normally Tops and Blue performs. I don't even
Hmm.
recall seeing it then. And
Right.
let me back up. So when you know how when you compete at the base level and then you get forward, you got to get all the paperwork for your supervisor. Everybody's got
Hmm.
to sign in case you get selected for tour.
Right.
So I tell my supervisor, matter of fact, his name was Dave, I can't remember his last name, but his name was Dave. And he signed the paperwork and he said, well, we'll see you in about 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, okay, so he was staff sergeant.
Yeah.
Staff sergeant, right? So keep that in mind. He said, we'll
Okay.
see you about 2 or 3 weeks, sign the paperwork. So fast forward back to it's the banquet night. It's, they're announcing, it was the 35th. So, it was big,
Big deal.
35th year ring. So it was a big deal. They had, I think, some of Sinbad, I think, was there. They had some others that were priors that were, in the industry at that time that were there. And it was a big to do. So I'm sitting there um, as a one striper that just put on my first stripe. So I'm sitting there at the table with the MAC team, enjoying the festivities, still not understanding that after they do all of the awards, then they announce the Tops and Blue team
Right.
for that tour, for that year rather. So I'm sitting there and I'm chilling with the team and I'm enjoying the festivities because we're leaving the next day. We're coming back. We're flying back, whatever. And
Mhm.
so, but during that time, I did go. You remember they have auditions where you would go and
Yeah.
audition, and so I went and I did the auditions. I did audition on bass, and I want to say I did audition on drums too, because I play drums a little bit. So I did audition on drums. Pretty just kept the pocket with it, but I did audition on bass. I think I played some funk stuff, and I think I played like Misty or something like that, like fake book stuff. We did like Misty.
Mhm.
And played through a couple of scales and that was it. Because Bernie Rome was actually doing he was doing the auditions. It was Bernie and can't remember who else was with him, but I know Bernie for sure was doing auditions. So we did the
Right.
auditions. So I'm sitting there at the table and we're just chilling. My stuff is packed back in my room. And I'm trying to okay, you got through this. This is cool. That's amazing. Wow, blah, blah, blah. And so next thing you know, they start calling the tours, the people going on tour. So they called the stateside tour first. So they went through all the names. So we're clapping because there was a lot of people that I had met while I was there that made the
Right.
tour. So then they called the overseas tour. So they're going through the names. And back then, how Tom did it was he would do it based on what your act was. So
Oh
whatever the
yeah.
name of your act was,
He
that's
would
how they would
incorporate it.
they would
Yeah.
incorporate it. Yeah.
Right.
And so I like I said, I did a song called Maria Smile. So I hear, Zef Smith, Maria be smiling on Tops and Blue. And I was like, so everybody's grabbing me, shaking me like, you
Right.
made it. So
Right.
I'm sitting there like, that's crazy. So that's how I got introduced to the tour. And then the same year, on the same tour, they Reggie Washington got selected for the tour. And so Reggie also auditioned on bass and drums. And Reggie was actually in a band for SAC, and he played bass.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm going, after everything settles down, I'm like, Reggie made it. I know he played, and he had a good audition on bass. So I'm like, if I'm gonna be playing bass, I know they're not gonna have me playing drums because I'm just a
Right.
pocket player. But I didn't know that he was a good drummer as well. So he ended up being selected as a drummer for tour, and I ended up being the bass player for tour.
On the same team,
And
on the overseas
on the
team.
same team, on the overseas team, yeah. And so I made the tour, and I called back and told my people at Dover, and Miss Claudia actually told them too that I had made the tour. And so we went through staging in San Antonio. We were there for 2 months staging because initially we were just kind of like the hired hands, moving stuff, helping with the build a set. Because when we had two tours, stateside was the priority. You had
Oh,
to
I
get
didn't know
states.
that.
You had to get
Oh.
stateside ready. So we were helping to build the stage. We were helping with audio, and then we'd get a practice in every now and then. But getting stateside ready and on the road was the primary objective because they'd always do that Fourth of July show in
Oh yeah.
San
Yeah.
Antonio,
Right.
and that would
Right.
that would kick off that would kick off the stateside tour.
Yep.
So we had to get them ready, and so they would use us, and then we'd have time to practice our show, but we weren't the priority. Thus, that picture I saw you when we were sitting up in the Thunderbird upstairs in that 90-degree room. The stateside band was downstairs on the cool stage rehearsing their show.
Right.
You
Wow.
know, and so that's how it was back then. It was get stateside on the road, and then when stateside is out the door, then we started investing in building the overseas tour because we rolled out, I think, about 3 weeks or so after them. So we were still practicing, but we weren't practicing at the level and the
As they were.
intensity as they were because we had to
Yeah.
get them out on the road. So, needless to say, it always, I know for 88, it always put a chip on our shoulder because they were like the
Interesting.
golden children. So
Yeah.
every year at mid tour, we would meet up at mid tour. We had mid tour where both
Right.
tours would come together. And that year we were in Charleston, South Carolina. And so mid tour would come together and we do a show. And the objective was to blow the stateside tour out of the water.
So
It
there was
was
a bit of a
competitive.
competition.
It was a bit of a competition, brother. Believe you me, because they were the golden children, and we
Right.
were,
Right.
and so we could not wait for mid tour. We could not wait,
That's
and so
hysterical.
oh yeah, so that's how it was back then, man. And when I toured, we did 20 countries overseas. We did 20 countries, and that was before I mean, during that time, that was when we were preparing to go into Gulf, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. We wasn't doing any of those locations, as
Yeah.
we start getting into those wars, we start putting TIB in those areas. We
Yeah.
weren't doing that then, but we were doing 20 countries every year, every single year. Overseas tour always did Christmas at Kunsan.
Kunsan. Yep.
We were Kunsan every year for Christmas. So we were there, man, we went all over the place. And so what was really cool is when I came back from the tour, oh, and let me tell you this. So when you finish up on the States, on the overseas tour, you flew into Dover.
Okay.
You flew into Dover because you were going to catch your first hop was going to be to Germany because we always did Germany first. So we would fly into Dover for a couple of days, get our pallets and all that done. Then we have the C5 to Germany, and we do Germany first. Well, craziest thing, I still have a picture of it somewhere, and I meant to send that to you. When I came back to Dover, right after I'd left, just this brand new airman, nobody knew. When I came back to Dover, the little plaque, the marquee outside the thing said, "Welcome home, Zef Smith."
Yeah. Is that not the coolest thing ever? When you see your
So
name
surreal,
on
bro.
the base marquee at the front gate, you're like,
As a
what?
as a one striper, nobody
Yeah,
knows
well,
me.
especially as a one striper. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
blew my mind, man. So I came back, saw that it was so cool. I got a chance to go over to the squadron. I only had like a couple hours, so and I went over in full Gregarian with my jumpsuit, ascot boots, the whole
Yeah.
nine.
Yeah. Whole
And
ensemble.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So people taking pictures with me and everything. So it was so surreal, man. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of how my tour started. Went through the tour, man, and it was a blast, bro. It was crazy. It was crazy,
Yeah.
but it was a blast. Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
blast. Hmm.
So when I got to Dover, when I got into a volunteer band at the rec center, Claudia hooked me up with all the gear.
Yeah.
And then I got into a volunteer band and we just did shows around the base, bowling alley club, just no pay, just entertain the troops.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's all
What year was
yeah,
this,
so just
Dave? What year was this?
so this was 90 91, 90 and 91.
Okay.
Yeah, right
Okay.
after
So a couple years
so I got
after.
assigned, well, not take that back, 91, because I got assigned there right after Desert Storm in 91.
Hmm.
And then so it was about a year's worth of stuff at Dover before I went to Worldwide. But because I went to the first Worldwide in 91, then again in
Oh,
92. But
okay.
when I got to meet Claudia, and she said, okay, she said, I got my eye on you, Dave. I want to get you, I want to do, because back then, by the time I got to it, it was just videotaped straight to San Antonio. We didn't have to
Hmm.
go through base level, command level,
Command
regionals.
level, right?
It was just send a tape and hope they call you.
Yeah.
So she said, I want to do a tape on you, Dave. I like what you do there. She goes, here, I want you to watch all these videos. So she hands me 4 VHS tapes,
Yeah.
all of you. She
Seriously?
says oh, dude, she worshipped the ground you walked on. Claudia was so proud of you. She goes, I want you to watch this guy. He came through here. Here's some tapes on him. Then
Yeah.
she gave me your actual studio tops and blue tape where you guys went in the studio and did the thing.
Oh yeah, when we did. Okay, yeah, the
I,
recording that year, Tops
I've
of Blue
still
did.
got
Yeah.
that someplace around here. I never gave it back to her. I've still got that someplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she gave me
Yeah.
that. She goes, I want you to watch this guy, watch what he does. So I'm going home going, what am I getting myself possibly into here?
Mm,
I was just blown away by the plane, the whole pomp and circumstance of Blue. I was like, holy crap.
sure. Yeah.
But so again, both of us, Dover, Claudia Nemrichter, made
Yeah.
tour. Yeah.
Yes.
What are the odds of that?
Now,
And
you were
both bass
stateside.
players. Huh?
You were stateside. You were stateside there?
No, by after 90, it was all
Oh,
one
it was
tour.
just one tour. Okay, that's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah.
right. That's right. Yeah,
After
because I
90
want
was
to
just all
say,
one tour.
yeah,
All one
yeah.
thing. And so when you went through when you went through in 88, did you have to go through auditions at base level? Or did you just play through it all and they just staged you through everything and just took you to
Play, play,
worldwide?
play through everything. Base level. Then we TDY to McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
We had Matchcom level there, and then they weeded out and they created the Matchcom team. We were Mac
Right,
at the
right.
time, so we were the Mac team. They got us shirts and everything, and then from there, the Mac team went to Worldwide. So you had Mac, SAC,
Yeah. Yep.
TAC
All
back
the
then,
usuals. Yep.
all the usuals, all the usual
Yep.
suspects. So all of the different commands, and so the commands would buy off, and then whatever command had the most command points would win for that year. And there was a big
Right.
commander's trophy that they would get, and unfortunately, and I was really hoping that Claudia would have went with us because they take a couple of the each year they would take a couple of the um, home
Right.
base folks to MatchCon.
Right.
And Claudia, she went to MatchCon, I mean to Worldwide. So Claudia went to MatchCon, but she didn't go to Worldwide. And I was really hoping that she would have went because she was like a
Yeah.
mom. She was, but when I tell you, man, she was so proud and she got a lot of, and when I got back, she got a lot of attention from the base leadership. And I want to say she got a little money for the rec center
Oh, I'm sure.
because of that, which was a great
Yep.
thing. I wasn't so into all that stuff back then, but I know that because she was really buying to try to get new equipment in there and try to get upgrades. And I
Right.
think when it was always one of those things where you produced a Topsy Blue member, then 2 years later she produces another one.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And so I really think that looking back in hindsight, I think we really did a lot, Dave, you and I, to really help to kind of build that rec center program for those that would come along. Because I went back there years later, man, and the rec center was just amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing, man. I was going through. Matter of fact, I was heading overseas. I was actually hopping, and I got to Dover, and ended up staying there for a day or two, and got to go around with the bowling alley and just kind of reminiscing and went to the rec center, and it was, man, just incredibly different from
Yeah.
when I was there. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
yeah.
it's always fascinating to me the folks that make it through. I mean,
Hmm.
essentially, you made it through your first time. You
Yeah.
didn't have to. You didn't go through. I tried and the year you made it, I also tried. I
Hmm.
was stationed in Spain,
Okay.
and so I made it to USAFE,
Uh-huh.
and Bernie and Joanne were in charge of USAFE then,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
had to audition in front of Bernie. That was the first time I met Bernie. Was in '88,
Oh man.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so it was. And I'll never forget. I will never, dude. I was such a pompous ass, dude. Bernie and I had such a love. Not to digress and go into the whole Bernie thing, but because we have a lot
Sure.
of parallels here.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, when I got there in '88 to USAFE, um, well, I take it back. It was regionals. It was in Germany. It
Okay.
wasn't all the way to USAFE. It was regionals.
Okay.
No. I take it back. It was USAFE. I got through regionals. I got through the Mediterranean, made it to
Uh-huh.
regionals. Bernie, Joanne, Mellon. But I'll never forget. So I was doing my piece, something I built, and
Hmm.
I will never forget the. I was talking to the band because I did have some band accompaniment. I said something obviously wrong to the band. I'll never
Hmm.
forget Bernie sitting about 8 rows back. All I saw was his pen go like this across my name.
Really?
I knew right then I was toast. I knew I was toast. Even when I went and I had my musical audition with Bernie, in '88 and '89. Again,
Okay.
when I was stationed in Spain, I couldn't
Hmm.
get past Bernie and Joey. I won uh,
Yeah.
in '89. First place was won by Chris Knox, and second place was won by Dave Jackson. I
Chris
didn't.
Knox,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Last one
yeah.
of my, yeah.
Another one of the cats. So
Yeah.
I did not. I didn't make it to USAFE showcase. Because back
Hmm.
then, all the showcases were doing the thing, USAFE and SAC and all these showcases.
Right.
And I was
Sure.
thinking, man, I might make it to this showcase thing. No, no, I didn't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. 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 Because I
So
want
then
to say
I,
TAC had a showcase. They
yeah,
had
I
a
think they
showcase
all.
as well.
I think all the commands
Mac
had
didn't. Mac
showcases.
didn't have a showcase.
Mac didn't.
No,
Oh,
no, they did
wow,
not have a
that's surprising.
showcase. Yeah,
That's
they didn't have a
surprising.
showcase. Because one of the things that I remember when I was at Worldwide, and then subsequently going to Worldwides again after that, was they would talk about how polished the SAC team would be and the TAC team because they'd be coming off of, they had time to
And
perform, so they
and
were
the
more
USAFE
polished.
team because they had a huge budget and they always had the
Yeah,
best gear, best
yeah,
gear.
yeah, yeah. Yep. So that was one of the big things that they talked about is how much more polished those musicians and singers and all the entertainers would be because they would do that showcase before Worldwide.
Right. Yeah. It
And
was
so
like
they would be
pre-training.
polished.
It was
Yeah.
pre-training. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that. I remember that was a big, like, these guys are coming in polished and they walked around like peacocks. They really did. I remember,
Yeah. Well,
because Reggie.
no, go ahead.
Now I'm saying Reggie, the bass player that ended up being the drummer on my tour, he was in the sack band,
Hmm.
and they had been performing. And the crazy thing is, he got picked up to play drums, and then Leroy Wilson, Leroy,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Leroy got picked up to be the drummer on the stateside tour.
Wow.
So two guys from that band, Reggie was the bass player, Leroy was the drummer, and they both got picked up for Tops and Blue in '88, both on
Wow.
drums. Those guys were just talented, man. They had
Yeah.
a talented bunch.
Yeah.
They really did. Yeah.
What are your memories about and folks, this is so surreal for me. When Zeph and I in the '92 talent show,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
you, just bass
Four
players
bass
alone.
players.
You, me, Donovan Francis,
Donovan
also
Francis,
prior
a
Monster.
monster.
Monster played
Monster.
with. Remember, he played with drumsticks on the bass. He did
Yes,
the Tony
yes,
Levin thing.
yes. I
He did the Tony
remember.
Levin thing.
Yes, yes.
There was a kid that played a Rick. I don't remember
It was
what
it was
song he did.
four. It was four. Was it four or five?
Four bass
Four
players,
bass
right?
players. Yeah,
And a crap ton of horn players and drummers.
yeah, yeah.
But to have two bass players make it to
In the
finals,
finals.
man.
Yeah, that was unreal.
Yeah.
That was unreal. And man, like you go back, Donovan, man. Donovan was a monster, bro. He was. I mean, I watched what he was doing,
Hmm.
and I was like, and it was so effortless. I think he was like a California cat. I think he was from the West Coast,
I
or
think so.
either, or it was either New York or California. But he was so gifted, man. And I was really blown away by all of you guys, man. And I'm gonna tell you, I think the only thing that I rode the wave on that year was in my mental psyche. It was like, okay, bro, you a prior, and you know you gotta do your thing. And I mean, man, I shedded so much that year when we were at Worldwide. I didn't do much of anything, man, but just, I mean, almost going through, okay, first 16 bars of this solo. Okay, boom. Next 16 bars, go back. And I was just, because I wanted to be so comfortable
Right.
with it to where it was the original piece, but I wanted to own it, and so yeah, but that year was incredible, bro. It was absolutely incredible. Then let me tell you this. The first year that I won was I went back the next year, and funny story. So I go back the next year after tour, and
Oh, you competed again in '89?
I competed again. I won.
Oh,
I won. That's the first year I won musical potpourri.
so you got the
Got the
Roger for
Roger for
musical
potpourri.
potpourri. Oh, okay.
Yes.
All
But let me
right.
tell you this. This is a crazy story. So that year I go make it to command, and so I'm there. And I actually did a solo again that year. I did another bass solo, and I did uh, I did the bass solo, and while I was there doing it, I don't know if you know this guy named Dwayne Harrell.
No.
They call him Big Wayne.
There you
Beautiful guy. He toured. Beautiful soul, man. One of my dearest friends, man. I call him one of my brothers of the round table. Dwayne Harrell, man. He's incredible. He's an incredible story. If you want to get someone to do a podcast, he's incredible too. He's really
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne Harrell. So anyway, we're at command level, and I'm doing a bass solo, and it was good, but it wasn't great because I didn't really put the time into it like I wanted to. And so, but when I got to command level at Matchcom, um, once we went through everything, and that year, I want to say, yeah, we were in New Jersey again. And so when we got through the finals and we did all of that, and I want to say, I don't even remember. I think I did win second place maybe in the instrumental solo. I think the kid that played xylophone beat me out, I think. I can't even remember. But what I do
Right.
remember though, Dave, is that year Dwayne was doing this show. He was doing this potpourri skit. It was him, and I don't know if you're familiar with the cat, the incredible, phenomenal organist Joey DiFrancesco.
Mm.
Joey
Mm.
DiFrancesco, look him up. He's passed away, rest his soul. I mean, one of the premier organists in the world.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay.
His brother, he had an older brother named John DiFrancesco that played guitar. Joey was he was a phenomenal, he was a phenom, he was a genius. But his brother John DiFrancesco played guitar. He was in the Air Force. And
Okay.
so they did this little thing. It was this little potpourri, and it was about Dwayne Harrell was this old man in the park. And John played this little kid that was sitting on a bench and he was fiddling around on the guitar. And so Dwayne's character comes up to him, this old man, and say, "Hey, what you know about that guitar, man?" And so he's like, "Oh, I mess around with it a little bit." He was a little kid. And he was like, "You know anything about the blues?" He said, "I know a little bit." He said, "Let me see
Yeah.
what you know." And so they kick off this thing and they do Stormy Monday.
Oh, wow.
They do Stormy Monday. Dwayne is killing it, singing it, selling it. And so John is playing guitar and he's just playing some ninth chords, just kind of blues chords.
Yeah.
And then he rips a solo, I want to say it was maybe a 24 bar solo or whatever. And then they go back into it and then they get to the end of it and the kid gets sad because it's over.
Oh,
You
I like
know,
the catch. I like the hook.
the concept was incredible. So John gets called back to work. He can't go to Worldwide.
Oh,
Can't go to Worldwide. So they asked me, did I know how to play guitar? And I said, I fiddle around with it a little bit,
yeah.
I'm not really a guitarist. Ended up watching John's video, learning his solo, adding a little bit of my flavor to it. We taped that to Worldwide and win first place in the instrumental in the musical potpourri category.
See, the potpourri category, and if you see this is crazy.
Everything. It was like the catch-all.
Well, see, that's how I got my Roger was the potpourri category.
Really?
Remember, the year you and I competed against each other,
Yeah.
I won the Roger, the potpourri, I won the Wilco against
That's
you.
right. Because what did you do? You did
Okay, hold that thought. This again parallels. These parallels are great.
Man, I
So
do remember that now. Yeah.
we get to they send us to Scott Air Force Base.
Mhm.
They fly all the Mac people to Scott,
Okay.
and then Renee Brantley, you know Renee.
I do know really, yes.
Renee Brantley says, "I want you to come over here and meet this guy." So she calls this guy over, and it's Donovan. And she goes, "I want you two to get together and build an act to take to Worldwide." I said, "What about my instrumental solo?" She says, "Well, you're still going to do that, but I want you two to build an act to go to Worldwide."
I
So
remember
Donovan,
that now.
I never met Donovan. I never met Donovan.
Mhm.
Well, I lived with Donovan for the next 2 weeks or whatever it was. I mean, him and I were just like, boop.
Yeah.
So we said, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, our first instinct that we pitched to Rini was we were going to do Linus and Lucy. We're going to do the whole two tapping thing, two different basses,
Yeah.
and do the Linus and Lucy thing. And then him and I were playing it, and we kept looking at each other like, you know what? We need to add something. So we talked to Rini, and we said, what happens if we had an acoustic guitar player? And we don't do that, and we do dueling banjos, but on bass.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We had Eric Brandenburg. We played it in front. We shed it out,
Uh-huh.
played it in front of Reed. She goes, "We're taking that to Worldwide." So it was me and Donovan and Eric Brandenburg playing the guitar player, and we did the street duel thing where I'm a hobo bass player. Donovan walks
Yeah.
by, the rich guy bass player. I'm
Yeah.
trying to lure him into jamming with me. And behind me sleeping was Eric Brandenburg with his acoustic guitar on the bench, another hobo.
Wow. Uh-huh.
We put that together and we did dueling basses with the guitar, and we won the potpourri category. I
That
mean,
is
it
so
was literally,
crazy.
isn't that nuts how you can just build an act that quick
Yeah.
and go and
Yeah.
win
Yeah.
and go
And
and
it was
win?
crazy because, potpourri was kind of like catch-all.
Yeah,
You could be a comedian and musical
you could
potpourri,
juggle and play
drama.
guitar, you could sing
Yeah.
and do
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So that was the catch-all. And so that's how I actually won my first Roger was in the musical potpourri category. And then
So
fast
we
forward to the year.
see
Yeah,
again, Zeph.
it's
We both
crazy.
have Rogers in the musical potpourri. I didn't
That
know that
is
till
that is
now.
absolutely crazy, man. That is crazy. That is crazy. And let me tell you this. What inspired me um to because I had actually like after that year and I did the musical potpourri, I had kind of was like, I'm kind of done doing the doing the bass solo deal. I'm like, it's it because I got frustrated because it was always sax players, it was always horn players winning.
Mhm.
And so I got frustrated. So I was like, I'm kind of over the whole, I'm just over
Instrumental
it.
solos. Yep.
Instrumental solo, I was over it. And that year when I won the musical potpourri, I don't know if I'm sure you know this name. He's a bass legend in Tops and Blue. Lorenzo Sands. You know
Oh, of
Lo.
course I know Sandman.
Yeah,
Hello.
Low, listen, man. He was the one that pumped the juice back into me to compete. He won the Wilco that year in instrumental solo. And I want to say that was if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time a bassist in particular, I don't know guitar, but bassist had ever won at Worldwide. I think Lorenzo was the
Wow.
first one, and he won the Wilco that year. And he played
Wow.
this solo, man. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I never forget it. He had this little small little beanie cap on, and
Right.
he was a
Stellar.
monster, man. And so he really became my motivation because when I peeled the onion back, he was the bass player that toured on the '87 tour overseas. And Gary Rice was the bass player on the '87 stateside.
Okay.
So I basically, put on the mantle, the shoes of Lorenzo for '88 overseas because
Right.
he was '87. So we had a connection there. And then he just had this confidence about him. He still has it to this day. He has this confidence about him, man, that just you feel it when he plays. He's humble, but he's super
That's the
confident in what
word.
he
Humble. Right
does.
there. That's the word.
Super
Humble.
humble, but confident, man, and,
Yep.
and, and what he does. And then if you remember, when they created the Air Force Most Dangerous Band, that's when they went to all priors
Mhm.
doing worldwide because they were using the Air Force Band for years.
Yep.
And then I want to say it was 93 or 94. I think it was the year after I won, the year we won.
Mhm.
I, the next year is when I think they established the Air Force. They called the AFMDB, Air Force Most
Right.
Dangerous Band.
Yep.
And
Yep.
originally it was Barry was the band director.
Mhm.
I was on bass. Jim Wintermeyer was on
Yep.
guitar.
Lucky on
Daryl
drums.
McKeechin, Daryl McKeechin and Lucky. Yeah, and
Yep.
so we did that for man, probably 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
So every year I would go to Worldwide and I would do that with the band.
Yep. I
And
remember you, every time I came back to work Worldwide, there you were. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
and so then the career and the entertainment thing intersected. And it's like, okay, are you trying to be a master senior chief? Or are you trying to hopefully make master and just retire and be the Air Force
Right.
bass player,
Right.
that tops the blue. And so that's where the two intersect. And that's when I pulled off. And that's when Lorenzo came on.
Right.
And so Lorenzo played, and then Lorenzo carried that mantle until, they pretty much
So
disbanded the
they were
worldwide.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So again, parallels again. He was my mentor. I went in and was the original bass player for that, Thompson Blue Band for
Mhm.
Worldwide. Then he came on and did it until. So
Yep.
again, another parallel. So he won that year. Wilco, and that's what inspired me to go back and try to put something together. And at that point, I had been listening to when I went on tour. We were overseas. I picked up. I don't know if you heard this group called Cassiopeia.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cassiopeia, the bass player for Cassiopeia, just like I mean, he literally like those fans be when Michael Jackson just stands there and looks at him. When I watched this guy listen to him play, that's what it did to me. Like it was unreal.
You were
And
paralyzed.
so yeah, I was paralyzed at the stuff he was doing. And so I took a portion of his solo and worked it up and tried to like it was like a probably about a 16 bar, maybe 24 bars of a solo he did. And I kind of manipulated a little bit. And so I added that into the construct of the solo that I built for the year that we competed.
Right,
And it was just, you know, it just I worked on it so much and got it so much under my fingers and it just felt good playing and I felt like I really owned it and so that's what kind of gave me that, you know, I had attitude with it. You know, and I took that whole
right.
approach that Lorenzo said because the sax player won that year first. I don't remember who it was, but Lorenzo won the Wilco that year. And so I was just like he was like a rock star to me.
Yeah,
You know, even
yeah.
that year I had won, but he was like a rock star because he won in the category that I was passionate about, was instrumental
Right,
solo. And
right.
so, in talking to him and just picking his brain, it's like he gave me that desire to go back and get it. And he even told me, he was like, man, because I told him, I was like, man, I'm done with it. He said, no, man, don't give up, man. He said, go back and get it.
Right.
Go back and get it. And
Oh,
so,
he's
Lorenzo says inspired me.
anytime I talk to Sandman, he's so inspirational because
Oh, man.
he can tell when I was in a mood. 'Cause I've worked with Lorenzo for now, up till from '93 until they stopped the program. I was always back to
Right.
Worldwide helping.
Sure,
And
sure.
every time him and I talked, he was so. It could have been about bass. It could have been about pizza. It could have been about
Yeah,
anything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
inspirational, and so
yeah.
humble. Oh,
Very
just such a
mature.
wonderful man.
Yeah, so mature, man.
Yeah,
So, you know, you just you gravitated to his maturity. You gravitated to the gravitas of who he was
yeah,
as a
yeah,
person. You know, you knew he was
yeah.
a great bass player, but he was an even greater person.
Well,
You
see,
know.
it's funny you should mention that because when I got to '92 Worldwide and you were there,
Hmm.
and I didn't know. I mean, other than what I watched about a million tapes of Zef back in
Hmm.
Dover, I was like, and he's here, and I'm like, I was so intimidated. I was like, every time you walked by, I was like, because and even Donovan was like, you know who that is, right? I'm like, yeah, I know who that is. I've been watching his videotapes the last 4 months. I know who Zeph is. I know who he is. And every time, I'll
Man.
never forget. Every time you walked by, I was like, well, first of all, the big thing was in my head. I go, okay, I'm already competing against two prior bass players.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's somebody else in the auditions that's going to pull out a bass, even though he might be a drummer or a keyboard
Right.
player or something else. So you know somebody else has tried out a bass.
Yeah.
I just basically just said, okay, get to the auditions, do what you can. And just, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just got to that
Yeah.
point where I was so overwhelmed by all the talent around me. I just said, okay, if it happens, it happens. It does, it doesn't. But I'll never forget you. One of my favorite memories of Worldwide is I had my bass. I was sitting in a hallway. I had my bass
Hmm.
in my lap. I was just shed to myself.
Hmm.
You walked by, and you walked by me, and you stopped, and you backed up, and you looked at him, and he goes, funk. You said funk for me a little bit, just like that. I'm like,
Really?
I'm like, Zef's asking me to funk for him. What? Really? I did some little silly thing, and
Oh man.
you go like this. You go, I'm seeing what you're doing there. I will
Wow.
never forget that. I will
That's
never
crazy.
forget that.
That is crazy, man. That is crazy.
I
It
see
was
what you're doing there.
unprecedented. It was unprecedented that year. Um, there's never been a year like that in my opinion, as far as instrumental solo and the things that bass players stood for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it was unbelievable. And I don't know, and I haven't talked to Lorenzo about it because I want to say that next year Lorenzo had got out of the Air Force. I
Could
don't think
be.
he was in anymore. Yeah, I think he had got out of the Air Force and kind of started his track with his whole career. You know, because he's played for everybody, man. For
Yeah.
um Patti LaBelle. He's played for, I mean, just incredible artists on the East Coast there. I mean,
Yeah.
up to DC, New York area. I mean, he's just, he's played with some heavy hitters. But I want to say he got out. But I don't know if today, to this day, if he knows that next year, the momentum and all the base play, I don't think that he knows that story. I can't remember if we talked about it. We may have, because I know that we talked about me winning the Roger. So we may have, but I don't know if he knows the whole backstory to all of
Right.
that and all the bass players were there and that you and I were in the finals. I think he may have known that too, but I don't recall,
Yeah.
if he did. But yeah, but he blazed the trail for that. He really blazed the trail
I would completely agree. I would completely
for
agree with
that.
that. And
He
the
really
night at the
did.
'91 talent show, which I couldn't believe I got asked to go to, but I got to Worldwide. I did the instrumental solo, a piece I built,
Hmm.
and of all the things, I got the Judges Special Recognition Award.
Really.
Yeah, the '91. I didn't get a
But
Roger.
Dave,
Didn't.
but
I'm
the
like,
thing is, man, people weren't hearing bass like that
right.
up to that
Yeah.
point.
Right.
They weren't getting bass as an instrumental solo instrument,
Right.
as a
Right.
lead instrument, as a
Right.
melodic instrument. They
Right.
weren't viewing bass that way.
Correct.
And so we kind of, although it was out there in the sphere in the music world, but
Yeah.
in the Air Force entertainment part, it was sax players, trumpet players,
Yeah.
it was
If you
those
had,
guys that were instrumental soloists,
and I
guitarists
was
even.
the guitarist, especially the guitarist. I
Yeah.
was told I built my piece for '91. I had to play it in front of Claudia. Did the
Hmm.
tape at the rec center,
Hmm.
and I will never forget. I couldn't tell you who this guy's name was, but he approached me at the stage. I got to know my thing. They recorded. Said, "Okay, if that's a good recording, we don't have to do it again." I'm like, "Yeah, I was happy with that."
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "Guys," and I don't remember if he was a musician. I don't remember who he was, but he comes up. He was very serious, and he says,
What do you remember what he
"You
looks
know,
like?
no, all I remember was I got angry." So I think the
Okay.
anger just overrode everything else that happened because he walks up to me and
Hmm.
goes, typically bass players that go on stage don't perform stuff like that. You're probably not going to do well unless you do something that people know. If you go in there
Mm.
and you do, if you go in there and you do Birdland or something like this, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
thanks for that, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the tape got me to Worldwide and got me to the
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah. I'm very selective about my passion for what I do. So when people, whether it's constructive or not, I don't take it
yeah,
well.
yeah,
I hear it, but it's like when I have a concept in my mind, I've studied it. I've studied what turned me on
right. What made you feel
as a
good?
basis that made me feel good. And so I try to incorporate that into what I do. And so, I mean, unless you're someone that's noted, and it's not, and I say that very humbly, but unless you're someone that's a noted player that can tell me that you're just some singer or somebody that comes along that's just a novice, which a lot of times people say, a lot of times people don't know music, so they just know what makes them feel good.
Right, right, right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so,
No,
I don't, so I'm very kind of like you, like, okay, I appreciate it, yeah, no, keep it moving, kind of, in a humble sense, because we're passionate about what we do and we're
right,
passionate about how we put it together. We put it together with the hopes, obviously, with what we were able to accomplish during that time. It worked for us,
right, right.
it worked for us. And so,
Another
you
interesting
know,
parallel, and it just hit me now.
mhm.
It just hit me after this conversation was you played a Rush tune. Was it bass level? You said at
Yeah,
bass
the
level.
base level. Yep.
The very first. This is so weird for me. I'm gonna get chills just talking
Doing a
about this.
podcast.
The
Yeah.
very first, the very first talent show I was in. This
Uh-huh.
was after I saw Chief Finn's
Oh yeah.
1982 or 83 overseas in the
Uh-huh.
bass theater at Bentwaters. I said this
Okay.
that's what got me hooked on blue. I saw that show. But
Uh-huh.
anyways, the very first talent show I did at base level that took us to regional level,
Hmm.
we played Rush. I was in an instrumental group and we did 2112 in Temples of Syrinx.
Really?
And we won base level, got to regionals, and then we got beat by a jazz band that had I'll never forget this. They had costumes. They were a jazz band, but they were like pirates. They had a parrot on their shoulder or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
but I played my very first talent show was instrumental group. We played Rush. So
Wow.
there you
I'm gonna have
go.
to I'm
Another.
gonna have to hit Sal up and ask him what the name of that song was, man.
Yeah,
Because
I'd like to know.
it was a cool song, bro, and it was moving. The bass line was incredible. But I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna let you know what it
Yeah,
was,
let me know.
because I'm sure Sal knows. Let me tell you another interesting story. You mentioned Chris Knox.
Yeah.
So in 1993, I think it was
So the year I was on
me,
tour.
me, Chris Knox, Daryl McKeechin, and this cat, his name was Mark Watts. We put a band together in San Antonio. I was stationed in San Antonio at the time. We put a band together called Groove Factor.
Okay.
And we were doing we did a couple of TV things, man. We did a lot of little shows around San Antonio. We did
Hmm.
like this live taping, and we were doing we had jazz and uh we were doing some straight ahead. We was doing a lot of smooth jazz. We did Spain, we did some other stuff. And yeah, we had that band together, man, and we were man, it was fun. It was fun. Mark Watts was the drummer. He never toured, but he was a phenomenal drummer. But he had never toured, man. But we all got together and put that band together, Groove Factor, man. And it was fun. It was so much fun. We used to practice at Chris's house.
Nice.
Chris had a house there, and that he still lives in to this day. And we would practice in his living room, man. And his kids were small. His drummer, his son, Chris Jr., and incredible. He went to North Texas. I want to say he went to North Texas, the music school there in Dallas.
Oh, wow.
He is a phenomenal drummer, producer, arranger.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Nice.
Yeah, his son, man, is phenomenal on drums. Chris Knox the second, I think it's the second, a beast, bro. He is a
Yeah.
beast. Yeah.
Who did my, well, you probably know this because you probably with the same thing I did in 92. Who did you do your instrumental auditions with? Assuming you had instrumental auditions in 92, who'd you do it with?
You know what? I didn't do instrumental auditions that year. I
You
did not
did,
do them that year. No,
you
I
sly
didn't.
dog.
Because I wasn't thinking to go on tour. It was not. And then let me tell you this funny thing. I was asked to go on tour that year. I didn't do
Oh, wow.
auditions. I was asked to go on tour that year, and I declined because, like I said, at that point, I was really trying to focus into my career, and at that time, I had retrained into air traffic control,
Wow.
which is a monster career field,
Yeah.
and I just could not afford to be away from the career field, um, because it was super duper challenging. And so it was very enticing for me when I was asked to consider touring, but I didn't audition. I didn't audition that year because I had no plans of touring.
I wonder if Donovan did auditions because again, I was up against you two and some other mystery bases that I didn't know, and I
Yeah,
thought for sure there
Donovan
was no way they're going to take this schlep rock from Dover when they got you two up there. I'm like, there's no way.
I
No
think
way.
Donovan may have auditioned, and there was some other bass players there, but I didn't audition that year. And I want to tell you this: I want to say that they were, because they asked me to tour, so they were lacking on, I'll say, for lack of better terms, competent tops and blue bass players.
Now, did they ask you before Worldwide or during Worldwide?
They asked me during Worldwide.
Wow.
They asked me during Worldwide. It was during Worldwide, and matter of fact, it was after the competition because they were asking me right after the competition about considering touring, and I
Wow.
was like, man, that is an honor, and because at first I thought if I don't take it, I may get blacklist if I want to tour at a later date.
Right.
But I just decided, man, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to, man, because I just went into a new career field and I'm really trying to learn it. It's very challenging. And thankfully Tom and Bernie and Barry at that time and um oh, what's the other guy, man, that did all of our music already?
Terry Griffey?
Terry
Terry
Griffey.
Griffey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the conglomerate of
Yeah.
those that, kind of, and so they were all very, and I happened to be in San Antonio.
Right.
I was in San Antonio at that time. I was stationed in San Antonio, and they were very considerate of, that I was into a new career field and I was really trying to, get honed in on learning it. It was challenging to me. And I was just honest with them. I told them, man, I
Yeah.
would love to go on the road again and tour, but I'm in this new career field. And then another incentive was if I got my ratings, because I had made staff like first slick and the second look of my first time testing. Because you remember back then, you could test you have the second look,
Mhm.
for staff. And so I made it. So when I retrained in air traffic as a staff sergeant. And so
Now you're a 3 level.
yeah, so when I get my rating in my 5 level before I re-enlist, I would be zone A 6 years. So I was going to max that out like $62,000.
Hmm.
So the dollar signs were,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
all that was swirling around in my mind. So like I said again, I declined to go on tour, and like I said, I think it was because they didn't have a big crop of Thompson Blue who they could mold into Thompson Blue bass players.
Oh.
So, and I can't remember. I cannot remember who, because when I talked to Bernie and they asked me
So
about
again, this is the night.
considering,
This is the '92 talent show to pick a team for the '93 tour.
yes,
Yes.
yes, the
Yes.
year that we competed, the
Yes.
year that we competed,
Yeah.
and so I think that it was trying to, because again, as a Thompson Blue bass player, really all of the antics and the stuff that we did was none of it worked for Thompson Blue. You had to be
Right.
solid. You had to
Yeah.
be,
Team
and
player.
so you had to be a team player. You had to be solid as a player. Um, you had to you had to take obviously constructive criticism, all of that stuff. And so, Bernie being over the band, Bernie and Terry at the time, because I don't know if Barry was in the mix at that time. Because with Barry, when
He
you were
wasn't.
when you were staging, yeah. So it was Terry and Bernie, right, at that
Yeah. Well,
time.
even I don't even remember Bernie. I don't remember Bernie being at Worldwide in '92. Terry,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I don't remember Bernie being at Worldwide at all in '92. He might. I
Yeah.
just don't. I remember all my interactions were with Terry.
Okay. So I'm thinking it was Bernie, but I know it was Terry, and it may have been Percy. Percy may have
Could have
engaged
been.
with me.
Yeah.
Could have been Percy. But I know, like I said, I declined. I know it. I didn't talk to Tom, but it came from Tom.
Mhm.
But I didn't talk to Tom, and so, like I said, for a minute there, I thought about, man, I might get blacklisted, because I know of some people that got blacklisted from ever touring again,
Yeah.
and so I didn't want to burn that bridge, but I think when I explained it to them, they understood, and so I got a pass because again, like I
So,
said, they invited me to be in the AFMDB. So
so the bottom line of the story is, I got on tour because you decided not to go.
well, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that because they could have been. Dave Jackson is the primary that we want to take.
Right.
But if we can get a prior to go on tour,
Right. Right.
because
And that was my
because
biggest
I don't,
worry. That was my biggest thought. They were going to take one of you two.
yeah, because I'm like, if they get a prior to go on tour, because I don't know how many priors was on that tour that year.
Right.
I don't remember. So I don't know if their thought, I don't think that their thought was you couldn't cut it, but I'm thinking they're thinking if we can get a prior, we know what Zef did when he toured in '88, and
Right.
I got selected to do the recording. We did the recording, so they knew what my capability was. So I
Right.
think that's what, if they could get me, then it would be like, okay, we'll keep an eye on Dave and Donovan and those other guys if they keep coming back. But if we can take
Yeah.
a prior on the road, let's do it.
Yeah. That
And
makes
so I
sense.
think when and so I think when I declined it because of, like I said, my career field move and everything, I think you had to be at the top of the list
Yeah.
of all the other people that auditioned. You had to be at the top of the list because you made the tour.
Well, getting back to the auditions, I auditioned with Chris Knox. It was just me and Chris sitting in the room.
I remember Chris was doing auditions. I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just me
I
and
remember
Chris.
that. Yeah.
And what's funny about Chris is him and I. Again, I said this before earlier this
Yeah,
year. Him
competing
and I
back in
competed
the
together in
right.
'89. We were against each
Yeah.
other. He took first, I took
Yeah.
second. So we
Yeah.
knew each other from way back in the U
So
safety days.
did Chris tour with you?
No, he was '92. Chris was
Okay.
'92. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um Chris was solid, man. Like I said, I didn't even know Chris. Even when he toured, I didn't even know him. I didn't know him till he got back from tour, and he was stationed in San Antonio. And then we ended up meeting and connecting. I knew of him, but I didn't know him personally. But
Right.
then, like I said, we connected, and then I knew Daryl because me and Daryl had been working together. We were both stationed at Randolph.
Mhm.
And so when I found out he was a musician, we worked together and we were doing tracks back then.
Oh
You know,
wow.
Daryl had a little studio, man, and in his crib. He lived on
Mhm.
base. And so yeah, Daryl has been a monster for years. Daryl McKeeshan has been a
Absolute
absolute
monster.
monster for years,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
He
Yep.
has been a monster for years, man.
Yep.
Just a
I
beautiful soul, man. My little
I
brother.
totally concur. So where are you at now? Where are you broadcasting from, Zeph? Where are you at?
I am in the great state of Louisiana.
Oh, did you get some snow today?
We did not. Down south, they got it. Everything came from the Gulf. And so it came up as far as, from what I'm told, about maybe 70 miles from us. I'm in northern Louisiana, Shreveport, Bossier.
Yeah.
So I'm up in the northern part of Louisiana, which I'm about 3 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes, 3 hours from Dallas. The East Dallas is about 3 hours west of us. And then I'm about 5 hours, 5.5 hours from New Orleans,
Yeah.
about 4 hours from Houston. So we're up in the northern part of Louisiana, coming across I-20.
Gotcha. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Hmm.
Everything's good. You're enjoying the retired life. What are you doing now?
Man, I am. I work at the post office. I've got a really, really laid back job at the post office, man. And how I got it was some friends that I go to church with. You know, once
Mhm.
I retired, like the first year, I didn't really do anything. I was just trying to figure out, you know, as a big kid, what do you do now? So the first year I didn't do anything, and I was only thing I was doing my first year was I was playing at the church that I play at now. I've been there for years, man, like a lot of years. Like when I first got here, and so I just continued. So I was playing there on the staff there, and then I was playing in a couple of bands. So that's all I was doing at that time, the first year, because my family, we had all settled here, and we were trying to, you know, the kids were in school heavily, and so we were trying to just kind of get established here. And so then I was talking to some friends at church that worked at the post office. And so I used to always tease them like, hey, man, I need to get over at the post office, make some of that good post office money. And so
Right.
it just so happened, man, the family and I, we were on vacation in Florida, down in Orlando, and I got a text from the friends that I go to church with, and they said, "Hey, there's a job opening up at the post office. It's a custodial job, but they're doing veteran preference. And if you're interested, you know, you've got to go on tonight and put in your because everything's online with the postal
Yep.
service." So I
Yep.
went on that night, put it in, and ended up probably about 4 or 5 months later because they move snail's pace. But I ended up getting the job, and I started off doing a custodial job for probably about 2.5, 3 years, real easy laid back job. And then I moved into this maintenance operations support job where I do like, it's almost like contracting, you know, with requisitions and quotes and ordering parts and that type of thing. And it's just one of the best kept secrets in the United States Postal Service. And I've been at the post office now for 10 years. So I do that, and then I still play at my church, and I play in a couple of bands, and matter of fact, I just did a session for one of my really close friends here, the sax player named Eddie Spencer. He's got a project coming out next month. Phenomenal saxophone player, saxophonist, and he called me in last week to play like a little 16 bar solo on one of the
Mhm.
tunes on his project that's coming out. It's called Fair Park, and it's going to be great, man. He's doing a lot of cover tunes from the early '90s,
Okay.
and so I did that. And so you know, I do work like
You're
that. Matter of
busy. You're
fact,
keeping busy. You're keeping busy.
I've got a concert this Friday coming up with they have this big choir that it's called the Camp David deal, and they put this reunion choir back together. And so I was doing that for years, and so they're doing this big concert Friday. So I have that, and just you know, just trying to stay busy. There's a lot of great players in this city, and so I just try to stay relevant. You know, I was in the Zydeco band. The Zydeco band I play in is really cool. I'm gonna have to send you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna send you a link when we get off, and so you can check
Okay.
out. There's some videos when COVID happened in 20. the Zydeco band that I play with, we did about 6 or 7 videos, have a YouTube channel, and really cool stuff, man. I think you'll really enjoy it. It was
I look forward to
totally
it.
out of
Look forward to it.
totally out of the box for me. I had never played Zydeco before. And so it's
Oh,
totally out of the box. So I was
neither have
able to
I.
gravitate to it. Yeah. So I think when you hear it, man, and I'm playing the bass that I'm playing is I got a Warwick thumb that I'm playing on, and the tone is incredible. I was just listening to some of those videos today, just kind of reminiscing
Mhm.
from back when we did that, man, and it's some incredible stuff. So I definitely want to send you
Okay.
the link to go out and check out the page. I think you'll enjoy it, man. It's pretty cool stuff.
All right. I look
Yeah,
forward
pretty
to it.
cool stuff. What are you doing these days, man? Outside of sitting in the Tops of Blue Room and doing podcasts.
Grandkids is what I'm doing these days. Grandkids, man. Grandkids keep me
Okay.
busy.
Yeah.
Grandkids keep me busy. No, I'm retired from Verizon 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
I have not done anything with bands. I've been helping my granddaughter plays violin, so
Okay.
she's very musically inclined. So I've got some grandkids that are musically inclined. I'm just trying to help
Oh
steer,
yeah. Yeah.
help them steer.
Yeah. Good.
I'm
Good.
not doing the band thing anymore. I just for some reason, so I live north of Pittsburgh, and I'm sure there's
Okay.
plenty of good players. I'm sure there's plenty of good, but at 62, trying to find people to have a schedule at, when you're 62, even though you're retired, you
Yeah.
think, oh, you got plenty of time to do it. No, people don't. People don't. People don't, including me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot dedicate myself to a band. I just can't do it. So I got the
Yeah.
stuff in back, and every time I hear something, I'm like, I want to try that out, and I'll just come over here
Yeah.
and hit the bass or hit the guitar, or hit the keyboard, and say, that's kind of a cool chord. What chord? What was
Yeah.
that? I do a lot of
Yeah.
that. I do a lot of experimenting now.
Okay. Yeah.
So I play enough to know that I can still play.
Yeah. I try. My biggest thing is I try to stay relevant as a bass
Mhm.
player
Yeah.
because there's so much going on in the community of bassists these days
Oh,
that it's so much going on. And so part of my mindset with bass playing and playing and helping people is all that. The first thing is accountability and responsibility.
mhm.
I don't like playing with musicians that, and one of the things here, and I won't say names, but you don't know any of them, but one of the things here in this city that's troubling to me as a musician, we've got a bunch of great players in this city, hands down. We got some phenomenal players in Shreveport, Bossier, but the accountability is lacking, and it really kind of turned me sour a little bit because I'd get a call to come do a concert or come to put together a show, and the rehearsal time will be 7, and guys would get there at 7:30, 8. One time I was
Yeah,
working with
I
this.
I can't abide that, man. I can't abide
Man,
that.
at one time, Dave, I was working, I was going to perform for play with this artist, and we only got 2 rehearsals in. And the first rehearsal, one of the keyboard players didn't come. The second rehearsal we were supposed to be there at 7:30. There were guys walking in at 11 o'clock at night, just getting there for the rehearsal. Well, I had to be to work at 2 that morning.
Mm.
So I was very frustrated, and so that's the kind of stuff that reoccurringly happens a lot in this city. We have a lot of players that are really good, and they know that they're really good, and so
That's what I was gonna right there. You just nailed it
yeah,
right there.
yeah, they know they're
Yeah,
good. So it's like when I get there,
I'll
that's
get
when
there
we
when I get
start.
there.
Exactly. And I'm old school, man. And you know, as much as I am prepared when I take the bandstand or I'm rehearsing, I'm prepared. I know my material, but I don't ever take that for granted with respect because everybody's time is precious.
Correct.
My time is precious. Your time is precious. You may like to go play video games. I may like to come home and be with my family, or I may like to, but everybody's time is precious. And so we
Mm.
have to respect each other's time. And so I'm very selective with who I play with. And, when I go into a situation or I'm in a band, a lot of the guys, they call me Joe Jackson because I'm no nonsense. I'm like, let's get it done. Let's be on time.
Yeah.
And, so that's just the way I am because,
That's
you know,
that's my biggest frustration, man. That's my biggest frustration. I just
yeah,
cannot put up with it's almost easier to jam on the internet than it is to jam any place else in the world. It's
you're
easier to
absolutely
do this
right.
here than do it
Yeah,
out there. It just
you're
is.
absolutely right. You're absolutely
I'll
right.
have folks who will send me a tape, friends from around the world, people that we know and don't know will say, Dave, can you this is a nice piece, can you break out your fretless and come up with a bass line for it? Just let me know what you
Right.
think and blah blah. Just
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. It's easier to do stuff on this than it is for me to
Right.
plug in the amplifier now.
Yeah.
Plug into an amp.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, man. These days, you're right. It's easy to sit down. Matter of fact, Carlos Barrett,
Oh, of
horn
course I know
player.
Carlos. Yeah, he
Carlos,
was at 93 for a few days. Yeah.
yeah, Carlos just hit me up. Matter of fact, I owe him a call. So if he sees this, he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I'll call him before this." But I owe him a
Tell
call because he's
Carlos
got
I
a
said hi.
yeah, he's got a couple of things that he wants me to do some bass tracks on. So I need to call him. And so that reminds me, I said I'm going to call him this week because he hit me up last week and asked me to give him a call. So, but like you
Nice.
said, that's so much more fun. You can be creative. You can work in the studio, do what you do. It feels good. It's right. Send it back, and you're done. That whole gigging thing. And then the older you get, man, a 3 hour gig actually can be sometimes 8 or 9 hours
Yeah.
with drive time, setup, sound check. Then you're doing a 2 or 3 hour gig. Then you got to break down, tear down,
Yeah.
and so the Zydeco band that I play with, a lot of times we're doing stuff in Oklahoma, which is about 4.5, 5 hours from here. We do stuff in Arkansas, up in Hot Springs, which is about 3.5 hours. And so the casino things. And so we do those gigs. Oftentimes they're like 4 hour gigs, 4 or 5 hours, but they put us up in the hotel, which is good. But those just sometimes those get old, man, and they're weekend things. So I'll leave, I'll get off from work, leave, get on the road Friday, then I'll get back. I always try to, regardless of where I'm at, if I can drive back, I get back for church on Sunday. And my principle behind that and my thought behind that philosophy is if I can go out and play secular music and go here and there and the other, then I can get back to church and be able to play. And
Right.
that has to be my priority. And if I can't make that happen, I'm really torn because,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the gift that I have and I know who gave me the gift. And I'll never get to the point where it's like, I'll go out and do a Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night gig, and Sunday I come home, man, I'm tired, I'm gonna rest. And it's like, no, no. So I just refuse to. So there have been times where I've done gigs and finished up at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, get back
Hmm.
here to the house at 5:36,
Yeah.
take a 30-minute power nap, take a nap, and then I'm up and at church at 8:45 for band rehearsal and because that is such a priority to me. I'm like I will never shun that. The
Right.
only way I can't make
That's
it is I'm
that's a good
out of town.
quality. That's a good
I can't
quality,
fly
Zeph.
home. Yeah, I mean that's just. I mean it is embedded deep in me to make sure that I fulfill that commitment. And I'm blessed, man. The church that I'm at, they've been such a blessing to me and to my family. And so I'm just very indebted and will forever be indebted to the gift that God has given me and the church that that I have the fortune of ministering with every Sunday in the music ministry. So
Well,
that's
I
super,
am
super huge.
I am so glad to see you. A, you're healthy, you're doing well, you're still playing music. I couldn't wait to talk to you, Zeph. I was like, yeah, I gotta get Zeph. I gotta get
Man,
Zeph on here. So
blew my mind, bro, when you said
I
that. I was like, yes.
well, and that's what we're gonna do with this. That's what we're gonna do with this podcast. I mean, we probably lost a little bit of the audience talking about bass stuff, but
Yeah,
specifically bass
yeah,
stuff. So, but
yeah.
that's fine because we covered the stuff that I wanted to cover. I wanted to cover the worldwides and
Sure.
your memories and stuff like that. But dude, it's such an honor to talk to you again, and so I hope we run across, our paths cross again sometime.
I hope so, man. Like I said, it was so refreshing when you chimed in, and I immediately started going back to memories. I
Yeah,
started thinking about those
yeah,
early '90s, and I started
yeah.
thinking about Claudia and Dover, and like you said,
Dude,
all the parallels that I didn't know we had as many parallels with
dude,
the
it's
musical potpourri and all
unreal.
that.
It's unreal.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that is so crazy, man. The Dave Jackson,
No, yeah, and
the
Claudia
Dave.
Nimrichter. Claudia Nimrichter's
Yeah.
our gal. Yeah,
Yeah, she is,
yeah.
man. I wonder, man. I would hope that she's still with us, man. I have not talked to her in so many years.
She's passed.
Did really?
She has passed. Yep, a couple years ago.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, man. What I would have given to have another chance just to reminisce with her over a
Yeah,
cup of tea or, you
yeah.
know, because
Oh, absolutely.
she believed in us, man.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about a breath of fresh air. We were a breath of fresh air to her.
Yeah, I would agree.
We really were. We really were, man. And she believed in us and she invested in us. And you know, her legend will live on.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
Well, it lives
it
on
was,
through you and it lives on through me at the very least. So
yeah. And I'm sure
we
there are
could, we
others, man.
there are, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Well,
that
I mean,
maybe didn't get to the level we got
Dover
to.
had other people that went to Blue, I'm sure. So
Yeah, yeah, or not even blue, but just kind of she inspired, and then the sad part about it is that kind of faded when they started taking money away from the programs and
yeah,
she didn't have the momentum and then, but she was incredible, man. She
no,
was absolutely incredible.
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna let you go, old friend. I'm gonna go ahead and get this edited up and get it out there and take care of it. And
Sounds
I'll
good,
zing you
bro.
a link. I'll zing
Send
you a
me the
link.
link and I'll
I
send
will.
you the link for the Zydeco band I was telling you about, man.
Okay.
And I
Yeah, please
definitely want
do.
your
I'd love to
feedback.
hear it.
Check it out and put some headphones on and check it out and give me your feedback on it, man. Like I said,
I
it was a
I
whole new
will
thing for me. Zydeco was
I will
totally
I will lay
different.
down in the dark with some cans on and listen to it.
I need that, bro. I need your feedback for real. I
Love
value
to.
it.
Well, it's
Yeah.
been great talking to you, old friend. Much love to you, and give
Same
your
here,
best to
bro.
my family. And
Yeah.
you're one of the cats, man. I appreciate you. I love you. And
Same here,
like
bro. Love
Claudia
you too,
said,
Dave.
watch this guy play bass.
She was the absolute best, man. Claudia,
Yep.
man. Like I said, her legend will live on through, if nobody else, through us.
Yep. All right, old
Absolutely
friend.
will.
I'll let you go, man. Thank you so
Sounds
much for
good,
doing
bro.
this.
Thank you,
All right,
Dave.
man.
Love you, man.
Take
Love
care.
you, bro.
Love you too, brother. Take
All
care.
right,
Thank
brother.
you.
Yes, sir. All right.